That's exactly what happened to Abraham Shakespeare.
I said, you won $30 million. Do not show this to anybody.
Going from rags to riches. The good news is you've won the lottery. That's also the bad news.
Where Abraham Shakespeare is.
They're saying that I took a gun and killed another human being.
So, I think it's safe to say most people believe winning a $30 million lottery jackpot would basically solve every single problem they have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you pay off your debts, you buy the house, you finally have total freedom. It's the ultimate fantasy.
Yeah, but today we're looking at a case file where winning the lottery, it didn't buy a man his freedom. It actually bought him a shallow grave under a concrete slab.
Yeah. It is a really devastating reality check on that whole sudden wealth fantasy.
We're going to explore the story of Abraham Shakespeare to unpack the psychological and, well, the financial vulnerabilities of sudden wealth. How exactly does a massive financial windfall strip away a person's defenses and just act as a magnet for predators?
Because it happens mechanically.
Yeah.
You know, it is a predictable dismantling of a person's life.
Right. You might think you would know exactly how to handle millions of dollars. You assume you'd hire the right lawyers, you'd be smart, you'd set boundaries. But the psychology of the story is going to challenge what you assume about money, trust, and how the people around you might just change overnight. So let's start with the baseline. Let's look at who Abraham Shakespeare was before the money, down in Central Florida, in working class towns like Frostproof and Lakeland.
So Abraham was 43 years old, and his life up to that point had been, honestly, incredibly difficult. He was largely illiterate, he had a criminal record, and he was working these really grueling labor jobs just to survive.
Yeah, he was sweeping floors, right?
Yeah. He swept floors at a local barbershop owned by a friend of his named Greg Smith, and he unloaded heavy trucks for a food distribution company. He was definitely not a man who had ever experienced any kind of financial security.
But the sources emphasize this one specific trait about him over and over, which is his quiet generosity. Even when he barely had a dollar to his name, he was known as the guy who would share whatever he had with his community.
Which is, I mean, it's a beautiful human quality.
Yeah.
But in the context of what was about to happen, it really became his fatal flaw.
Right. So the inciting incident happens on November 15th, 2006. Abraham is riding back from a job in Miami with a coworker named Michael Ford. They pull over at a Town Star convenience store.
And this detail is crazy. He literally has $5 left in his pocket.
His last $5, and he gives $2 to Michael and asks him to go inside and buy 2 lottery quick picks.
And those random machine-generated numbers actually hit. 6, 12, 13, 34, 42, 52. He wins the $30 million jackpot.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and he opts for the lump sum, which after taxes leaves him with $17 million in pure cash.
Wow. And he makes a few immediate purchases, you know. He buys a $1.1 million home in a gated community. He gets a Nissan Altima and a Rolex from a pawn shop.
Right.
But looking at this critically, handing a $17 million check to a man who, like we said, struggles to read and has absolutely zero financial literacy, it's like handing the keys of a Formula One race car to someone who has only ever ridden a bicycle.
That's a great way to put it. He just had a mountain of liquid cash and a deeply ingrained habit of helping people out.
Which instantly turned him into basically a walking ATM for his community. I mean, the money isolated him almost overnight.
Yeah, the psychological term often used here is sudden wealth syndrome. It involves an intense identity crisis, paranoia, and just severe isolation.
Because suddenly every conversation he had was transactional.
Right. Everyone had a story, an emergency. They needed to stop a car repossession, pay off a mortgage, or, bury a family member.
And the paperwork shows he ended up loaning out $570,000 to various people in a really short amount of time. And the betrayal he experienced is just staggering.
Oh, it's awful.
The coworker who went into the convenience store to physically buy the ticket for him, Michael Ford, he actually ended up suing Abraham, claiming he was owed a massive cut of the jackpot.
Which is just, yeah. Ford lost the lawsuit, but the emotional damage was already done. Abraham actually confessed to his brother at one point. He said, "I'd have been better off broke."
That is so sad. Just think about the psychological exhaustion of that state. You can't trust anyone you've known your entire life. You are emotionally depleted, physically exhausted from the constant demands.
And exhaustion is the exact condition a financial predator looks for. It lowers your critical thinking. It creates this vacuum where you are just desperate for someone, anyone, to step in and manage the chaos.
And into that vacuum steps a woman named Doris Moore. She goes by Dee Dee.
Right. So we're in 2008 now. Dee Dee Moore is a 40-year-old from Tampa. On paper, she's running a nursing staffing agency called American Medical Professionals.
Okay.
But in reality, she has this trail of financial wreckage behind her, including a past bankruptcy and a prior criminal conviction for insurance fraud.
But I'm struggling to square something here. We know Abraham wasn't entirely naive, right? Because the sources point out that when his old boss, Greg the barber, came to him needing a $63,000 loan to save his mother's house, Abraham didn't just hand him cash.
No, he didn't.
He demanded they go to an accountant and draw up official, legally binding papers. So if Abraham had the street smarts to demand strict paperwork from a trusted friend, why does he completely drop his guard for a total stranger like Dee Dee Moore?
It's a really vital question, and it comes down to the psychology of manipulation. See, Greg came to Abraham asking for something, which naturally triggered Abraham's defenses.
Right.
Dee Dee didn't ask for a handout. She offered something entirely different, which was validation. She pitched him the idea of writing a rags to riches book about his life.
Oh, wow. So she wasn't treating him like a bank. She was treating him like a protagonist.
Precisely. By pitching a book, she made him feel seen. She recognized his struggle and offered to elevate his legacy. For a man who felt entirely used and reduced to a dollar sign by everyone around him, someone offering to protect and document his story, that felt like salvation.
That makes total sense.
She positioned herself not as a beggar, but as a peer and a protector. It's a devastatingly effective way to bypass someone's critical thinking.
And that psychological Trojan horse is exactly how she gets access to the money. They form a company together called Abraham Shakespeare, LLC. But explain the mechanics of this. Like, how does simply forming a company with someone allow her to systematically liquidate his assets?
It's all about how the operating agreement is structured. So as a managing member of the LLC, Dee Dee made herself the sole signatory on the business account.
Wait, really?
Yeah. In Abraham's mind, they were forming a company to manage the book deal and organize his messy finances. But in legal reality, she was creating a corporate entity where she had unilateral authority to move his millions of dollars around without ever needing his signature on a single transaction.
Oh, man.
She basically built a pipeline straight into his bank accounts.
And she opens a valve immediately. By January 2009, she actually transfers the deed of his $1.1 million home to her own company. She buys a $70,000 Corvette for her boyfriend. She buys a $90,000 Hummer for herself. I mean, she is treating his lottery winnings as her personal checking account.
And this rapid liquidation eventually becomes way too obvious to ignore. Abraham finally realizes the accounts are draining. He starts mentioning to the few people he still speaks to that Dee Dee is taking his money, and he starts trying to detach from her.
But when a parasite realizes the host is trying to cut them off, they don't just quietly pack up and leave. Dee Dee realizes her access is threatened, so she orchestrates a permanent solution.
Yeah. In April 2009, she initiates what we can really look at as premeditated narrative control.
Yeah.
She takes out her phone and films a video of Abraham.
Do you get tired of people asking you for money all the time, Abe? Give me your opinion on it.
I've been tired a year ago.
So where do you want to go to?
It don't matter to me. I'm not a picky person.
Are you going to miss your home?
Yep, I miss it, but life goes on.
And in this video, Abraham looks just exhausted. He's saying he is tired of the pressure from everyone. He wants to get away. He basically just wants to disappear for a while.
Right, because she is intentionally manufacturing digital proof of his desire to run away. She knows exactly what she is about to do, and she is planting a false narrative to point the authorities in the wrong direction.
It's like a magician's misdirection. Look over here while I do the real trick in the shadows, because shortly after she hits stop on that recording, inside her home in Plant City, she shoots Abraham twice in the chest.
Yeah.
And the weapon she uses is a Smith & Wesson .38 Special. It's a hammerless revolver equipped with a laser sight.
And after the murder, she contacts her ex-husband. She tells him a very specific lie. She says she has some trash and concrete debris that she needs buried in her backyard.
So he drives over with a backhoe, and under the cover of darkness, he digs a hole 6 feet deep. Abraham Shakespeare is thrown into that hole and covered with a thick concrete slab.
It's just horrific.
The man who survived poverty, who shared his last few dollars with his community, is buried under a concrete slab in a predator's backyard.
It is grim. But, from an investigative standpoint, the psychological profile of what Dee Dee does next is fascinating.
How so?
Well, with Abraham dead, The money doesn't just automatically become hers without scrutiny. She has to maintain the illusion that he is still alive to keep the assets liquid and, keep the community from asking questions.
Right, she has to perform. She puts on this elaborate theatrical production, she takes his cell phone, and whenever his friends or family reach out, she fires off texts pretending to be him. She claims he is traveling in Texas or hanging out in Miami.
Yeah, sometimes she says he's sick in a hospital or relaxing in Jamaica.
She even goes as far as paying a friend $5,000 to physically deliver a fake birthday card to Abraham's mother, Elizabeth Walker.
Yes, and this brings us back to Greg the barber.
Oh, right.
Dee approaches Greg, acting incredibly distressed. She tells him that rumors are swirling, people think she did something to Abraham. So to get people off her back, she offers Greg $300 to call Abraham's mother and pretend to be Abraham on the phone.
And Greg takes the money, he's sitting in a restaurant, he makes the call, and does his best impression. He says, "Hey mama, it's me, I'm okay."
But Elizabeth Walker is his mother.
Exactly. She immediately knows the handwriting on that birthday card wasn't her son's, and the second she hears that voice on the phone, she knows it's an imposter. She files a formal missing persons report in November 2009.
Which is what finally gets the ball rolling.
But looking at Dee Dee's strategy here, the absolute arrogance is stunning. She actually believed that $300 could buy a fake voice good enough to fool the woman who raised him.
Well, that arrogance is a hallmark of the predator's delusion. When you live in a world where everything is transactional, when you have successfully used a $17 million fortune to buy people's compliance, and you've watched an entire community compromise its morals for cash, you start to project that transactional worldview onto everything.
That makes a lot of sense.
You mistakenly assume that even fundamental human bonds, like a mother's intuition, are just variables you can manipulate or purchase. She fundamentally underestimated human connection.
And that mother's intuition triggers the Polk County Sheriff's Office. They open an investigation, and they immediately look at the digital footprint.
This is where her physical lie falls apart. Detectives pull the cell tower data for Abraham's phone. They discover that whenever Abraham's phone was sending these texts, claiming he was in Jamaica or Texas, the signal was pinging off the exact same local Central Florida cell towers as Dee Dee's personal cell phone.
Wow, so the phones were moving together.
Exactly, they were in the exact same place.
But suspicious texting patterns aren't enough for a murder charge. I mean, they don't have a crime scene, and they don't have a body.
Right.
The major break in the case actually comes from an entirely different source, the internet.
Yeah, amateur true crime investigators on a forum called Web Sleuths started digging into the public records. They meticulously mapped out Dee Dee's real estate transactions, the LLC formations, the deed transfers.
Wow.
They built a really comprehensive database of her financial paper trail and basically handed that intelligence over to the detectives.
Which gave law enforcement the financial motive. But now they needed to break her inner circle. So the police zeroes in on Greg the barber. They know he took that $300 for the fake phone call. They intercept him and offer a very stark choice. He can go down as an accomplice with Dee Dee Moore, or he can help them build the case.
And Greg chooses his friend. He remembers that Abraham gave him that $63,000 loan to save his mother's house when absolutely no one else would. So he agrees to work as a confidential informant.
But Greg is smart about this. He refuses to wear a standard police wire because he knows Dee Dee is incredibly paranoid. She constantly pats him down to check for recording devices.
Yeah, she was always checking him.
So Greg engineers this brilliant piece of DIY espionage. He takes an empty can of Red Bull, he hollows it out, and he stuffs the inside with styrofoam so that when you hold it, it has the weight of a full hand. Then he hides a tiny digital recorder inside the styrofoam.
The mechanics of that are ingenious because it hides the threat in plain sight.
It's the ultimate Trojan horse. He puts this modified Red Bull can right into the cup holder of his truck. He uses the top of it as an ashtray while he's smoking and driving around with Dee Dee.
That is wild.
She is actively, aggressively patting him down, demanding he step out of the vehicle to prove he isn't wired, but she completely ignores the mundane piece of garbage sitting right next to her in the cup holder.
And that recorder captures critical intelligence.
I only been talking to you because I'm trying to find Abraham.
Exactly. Well, hey, I'm all in, baby.
I feel like if Abraham was okay, he would contact me by now because he transferred all that stuff into my name, and then he was supposed to leave and, not come back for a while.
The audio reveals that Dee Dee's paranoia is peaking, The police pressure is really getting to her, and she tells Greg she is actively looking for a fall guy. She needs someone to take the rap for Abraham's disappearance.
So the police hear this and realize they have the perfect opening. They set up a sting operation. They introduce an undercover officer to Dee Dee, posing as a hardened criminal who is already facing a massive prison sentence for other crimes.
And the pitch is perfect.
Yeah, the undercover cop pitches her a deal. He says, "I'm going away for a long time anyway. If you pay my family $50,000, I will confess to the police that I am the one who murdered Abraham Shakespeare."
And Dee Dee accepts the deal. But the undercover officer implements the final trap. He tells her, look, if I'm going to confess to this, my story has to hold up to police scrutiny. I need the actual murder weapon. I need to know exactly where the body is buried.
And she just gives him everything. She hands Greg the exact Smith & Wesson .38 special used in the murder so he can deliver it to the fall guy. Then she gets in the car with Greg and directs him to her property in Plant City.
She is so paranoid at this point, she won't even step out of the vehicle.
Right, she points to a fresh...
So in late January 2010, the detectives arrive at the property with heavy machinery. They break through the concrete slab, dig 6 feet down, and their recovery completely shatters.
Because when investigators confront her with the fact that they have found the body, her response is, well, it's textbook for a pathological liar who has lost control of their environment, right?
Absolutely. She doesn't confess. She generates noise.
She rapid fires this series of the most absurd, shifting narratives imaginable. First, she tells police that drug dealers broke into her house, killed Abraham, and forced her at gunpoint to cover it up.
And when the police dismantle that story, she invents a fictitious man named Ronald. She claims Ronald was the mastermind.
They prove Ronald doesn't exist, so she pivots again and blames her own 14-year-old son.
Yeah.
And then, in a final act of desperation, she claims they didn't even bury a body under that concrete. She tells detectives that she and Abraham had buried $1 million in cash in that hole to hide it.
Legally, this barrage of lies is fatal to her defense. When forensic evidence is locked in the body, the ballistics, the cell tower data, a constantly shifting story proves to a jury what the law calls a consciousness of guilt.
Right.
It demonstrates that the suspect knows they are guilty and is actively trying to evade justice.
And the financial audit they conducted at the end of this is just bleak. Out of the $17 million Abraham took home after taxes, investigators found he had roughly $10,000 left to his name.
Unbelievable. In December 2012, a jury convicted Doris D. Moore of first-degree murder. The presiding judge stated on the record that she was the most manipulative person he had ever seen in his courtroom.
She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 25 years for the use of a firearm. And yet, her lack of accountability is just absolute. As recently as 2023, she gave an interview to ABC's 2020 from prison, and she actually said the words, "There was no reason for him to pass away over money."
It is a profound detachment from reality, and just a complete refusal to acknowledge the mechanisms she used to destroy him.
Taking all these sources together, the true tragedy of the story isn't just a cautionary tale about bad investments or poor financial literacy.
No, not at all. The tragedy is that Abraham Shakespeare was targeted precisely because of his positive traits. His fundamental goodness, his deep desire to elevate the people in his community was recognized by a predator and systematically weaponized against him.
He survived decades of poverty and harsh realities, only to be destroyed by the one event our culture tells us will save us. Which brings up a final thought I want you to consider.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the systems around you. Keep looking beneath the surface of the stories you hear.